Which do you trust more? Advice from a computer or AI, or from a human? Well, we actually trust advice from humans more. And this is why I think that is because advice from AI doesn't have any consequences to it. When AI gives you advice, whether it's wrong or not, it doesn't have an emotional impact on them. Whereas with a human, when we give advice to another human, we feel the consequence of that advice, whether it's good or bad. If it's good advice and it gets them to where they want to go, then we feel the reward for that. But if we give them bad advice and it has a detriment to them, we feel that as well. And there is a neurological reason for this. Because when your brain is receiving advice, it's not just calculating the facts. It's actually performing a very complex social value calculation, which means for emotionally sensitive decisions like mental health or healthcare, or decisions that are going to impact your business and your ability to keep your job or to grow your business, it has a higher weight to it. And in our brains, as soon as AI has given us advice, anything labeled with AI, our brains immediately start to distrust it. Now, part of the reason for this is that when we get advice from those that we see as experts, it actually gives our brain a break. We actually give up some of that energy to the expert who's giving us the advice because we trust that advice and that expert. Our brains are working less as a result. This is what we call cognitive offloading or surrendering. You see, when we get advice from an expert, it triggers something in our brain that says it's a reward. So it reduces the activity in that part of our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for our independent and critical thinking. When we get information, though, from someone who's not an expert or a computer, it actually triggers a different type of a response. Advice from AI or from someone who isn't an expert actually keeps our critical circuits thinking because we have to double check that information. This is why I believe that we can't just think of AI as replacing the human, but we need the human to trust the advice. We need the human to oversee the unexpert advice of AI. The danger, according to what a recent study out of Wharton, though, shows that we will surrender that sometimes when we're following advice from AI that's misinformation. And that up to 80% of people will follow information from AI even when it is incorrect. Essentially, we're recoding the machine's judgment as our own to do so. And that's where we start to get into trouble.
The danger that happens with this is that, say, for example, you have a salesperson and you haven't necessarily done all of the steps and all of the work to onboard that salesperson. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to turn to Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, and they're going to start trying to figure out how to do their messaging and what a cadence should look like and things like that. From someone who's not an expert, from AI, ready? Like it's data in, data out, garbage in, garbage out still applies here. So you don't even know what it is that's teaching your salesperson how to sell to your buyer in your market and whether or not they're even the person for the role. Combining all of that together, we have to take into account, how is our salespeople going to be using AI? How is that going to change the messaging and the cadence? And do they really know and understand our buyer? Are you actually incorporating into your onboarding and training how they should be using AI and how to discern the information that they're getting? Because if you're not, it is worse than the blind leading the blind. It's the blind leading the blind at an AI pace and scalability. So that is why I think this is important to know. And as leaders, to not just say, don't use AI, because that's not going to happen, but how do you have a centralized way for them to use AI so that you can help them to discern what is right and what is not right for your market and your buyer and your positioning?